Well, South Africa has been ranked 6th globally when it comes to alcohol consumption. This is according to research conducted by the World Health Organization. Now, this is not new statistics we should be proud of. In fact, it's perhaps a cry out for a national conversation. And we're joined now by Ingrid Louw from the Association for Alcohol Responsibility in Education to give us more insight into these findings. Ingrid, thank you so much for your time this evening. I mean, these are not new stats that come out when it comes to South Africa, as well as our binge drinking, so as to say. And you've cited two problems here. It's around binge and excessive drinking that we need to tackle, as well as underage drinking that we need to tackle as well. Where do we start with this conversation, and where does the problem exactly lie when it comes to South Africans' excessive drinking?
Good evening, Faith, and thank you for having me. I think that at the get-go, we need to say that it's not the consumption of alcohol or the use of alcohol that's the problem. It's certainly the abuse of alcohol. It's the excessive drinking. It's the irresponsible drinking. You correctly mentioned that according to the World Health Organization, we're the 6th biggest drinking nation in the world. And just a decade ago, we were the 19th biggest drinking nation in the world. Binge drinking is a serious concern, and if we don't check this path that we're on, if we don't pause and if we don't rethink our behaviors when we choose to consume alcohol, then, we only know in the next 10 years what might happen if we continue on this trajectory.
Yeah, I mean, it's also cited that in order for us to win the battle against excessive drinking and underage drinking, we need to tackle some of the root causes. There's no use in putting a plaster over a wound that's been infected. So in tackling the root causes, what are some of those root causes that you have observed and researched?
So we are still doing research as the alcohol industry into what these triggers are, but certainly, and as the president always refers to it, we're dealing with the triple threat in South Africa. We deal with poverty, we deal with inequality, we deal with unemployment, and there's a whole myriad of other social ills that we have to deal with. And so we want to understand, and that's why we're saying let's go into conversation, because we need to rethink our drinking habits. We need to really look at our own inherent belief systems when it comes to consuming alcohol. And certainly we aim to see how we can achieve behavioral change that is long-term and sustainable. So there are various triggers. You mentioned underage drinking and binge drinking. There's also drinking and driving, which is something that, is commonplace in our country. There's also the situation that we deal with in our research, which is pregnant women drinking and leads to fetal alcohol spectrum disorder in young kids that are born to mothers who have consumed alcohol. So there's still a lot of research that needs to be done. Industry is embarking on research to understand what these triggers are, what are the root causes, and why do we consume alcohol in the manner that we do.
But certainly also the alcohol industry has got a role to play in being able to be part of the solution. Because when lockdown regulations are imposed, the alcohol industry will first go up in arms and say you're taking away food as well as livelihoods. But when it comes to the excessive drinking and the underage drinking, pregnant women drinking, drinking and driving, these are some conversations where the alcohol industry needs to be square center in the discussion.
And certainly they are, and that's why I'm sitting here with you this evening. So Aware.org is the industry body for the alcohol industry in South Africa. It's funded by the alcohol industry. Our members are the manufacturers, the big manufacturers, producers, the brands that we all know and grew up with, distributors of alcohol. We've got some of the big retailers of alcohol, and they understand that they have a responsibility to work alongside other role players to address this issue of excessive and harmful consumption of alcohol. It can't only be up to the alcohol industry. The fact that Aware is there and they've invested the funding for the work to be done shows that they're prepared to step up and have stepped up to the plate. But we've got to take our other partners with. We've got to take civil society along with us. We've got to take government along with us. We've got to take all the other role players in the value chain. So whether it's retailers, whether it's traders, everybody needs to be in this conversation so that we can find realistic solutions for South Africa and for the people, the small minority who choose to consume alcohol. If you look at the WHO numbers, only 30% of South Africans consume alcohol. which means by far the majority don't. And it's of that 30% that we have a grouping that choose to drink irresponsibly.
Well, in the spirit of obtaining tangible solutions, would they not remove liquor licenses from those traders that would sell alcohol, for example, to somebody who is underage, or who allow just, you know, for people and for patrons to just run amok with alcohol consumption? Is it not time then for looking at whether or not liquor licenses get pulled away from those traders, especially those traders that sell alcohol to underage children? Surely that's a step in the right direction. Remove the liquor licenses, let them feel it where it hurts the most, so that they can start behaving responsibly.
Absolutely, that might be a solution, but, you know, granting of licenses don't fall within the remit of the alcohol industry. The alcohol industry, whether you produce or whether you distribute or whether you trade in it or serve it, it's a very regulated space. And that's why we're saying we need a multi-pronged approach, and we need to work alongside government. So we do, as aware.org, we work with the liquor boards in each of the provinces, and these are the entities that actually distribute and issue licenses to trade. We have a targeted program intervention in the taverns, which we call the Responsible Trade Facilitation Program. And industry, each of the big manufacturers have their own programs. Responsible trading is a big focus for us because we do believe it's at the point where you're actually serving or you're selling the alcohol. That's where the very strong message needs to be communicated. And certainly, if those individuals are not abiding by their license conditions, then government has the right to actually withdraw those licenses. Unfortunately, that doesn't fall within our remit as the alcohol industry.
But surely you can advocate for that. I mean, there is still some kind of influence that you are within your rights to make your voices heard when it comes to irresponsible distribution of alcohol. It's one thing to have constructive conversations, and we don't take away from that endeavor to have constructive conversations, but we need tangible outcomes. And in the spirit of having these tangible outcomes, surely this is where you use your voice and you say, guys, we need something actually tangible if we're truly to tackle this alcohol consumption or excessive alcohol consumption problem in this country.
Absolutely, and that is why we work alongside the National Liquor Authority. They're the directorate within the DTIC that is responsible for distributing licenses. We work alongside the liquor boards in each of the provinces, and we engage with them around the concerns. And I know that industry, and it doesn't fall within the work that I do as aware, but I know that industry also engage with all social partners, including government, at NEDLAC, and there are ongoing conversations about how do we address irresponsible trading. You know, apart from the irresponsible drinking, we need to also address the irresponsible trading. People need to trade more responsibly. Don't serve to underage kids. Don't serve to pregnant women. Don't serve to an individual when you can see they've had too much. And so those are ongoing conversations that the liquor industry is having with aware and with government.
Well, speaking about government, are they coming to the party in terms of being clear? I mean, clear, for example, on the minimum drinking age guidelines. Do you guys have enough clarity in terms of, you know, the operation, so as to say? Because the last thing you want is a trader saying, I didn't know. So is government coming to the party from a place of clarity?
Yeah, so there's different elements to that question that you've asked. I mean, certainly, as I said, the liquor space, if you trade or if you manufacture or produce, it's regulated. When a trader is issued a license, there's license conditions that they must abide by. There's also, each province has its own provincial bylaws, which they've got to comply with. And I mean, in terms of our law, if you're under the age of 18, you should not be serving alcohol to anybody. You should not be drinking alcohol. You should not be giving access to alcohol to someone under the age of 18. Where we want to engage government moving forward is South Africa doesn't have minimum drinking guidelines, unlike other countries. If you go to the Department of Health's website and you go and look at, you know, the documents that they've put together to manage the space, the substance abuse space, they talk about drinking sensibly. Now, we're not sure what that means, because drinking sensibly for me might be something different to drinking sensibly for you. So the minimum drinking guidelines are absolutely necessary. It creates a framework and then allows us to use it as a benchmark for conversations and for further policy discussions that need to be had.
Ingrid, we'll leave you there for this evening. Thank you so much for your time there, Ingrid Louw, giving us the latest on South Africa being ranked 6th in the world where excessive or binge drinking is concerned. While